If you're a local business owner who wants to get that extra advantage through search engine marketing, you've come to the right place. My name is Matt Post. I'm the co-founder of SEM Dynamics, and this is your morning cup of SEO. So there's been a few developments in the past week or so in regards to Google. The first thing is there was a algorithm update that took place last week, and algorithm updates, they occur here and there. That's just par for the course. It's normal. But what made this a bit more interesting was that people were unsure whether it was actually an algorithm update. And the reason for this is there has been, and there's still ongoing issues with Google and their index. And there's been some problems that have been going on for the last, I don't know, month or so, like probably a couple months now, where you have things stemming from errors that where Google has wiped out portions of their index. Tons and tons of pages have disappeared from Google's index, and you even have where there were pauses or lapses or an inability, I guess, on the part of Google to be able to index pages for a few days, a few days, and right when they finish with the fixes on one problem, I mean, sure enough, a day or two, you're hearing news that another problem is coming up. And so people are asking, is this an algorithm update? Is this Google messing up again? Really, what's going on? And it seems like there was an algorithm update, but what do you do? What do you do when these problems occur? When Google is just dropping listings, if they're not updating their index with new pages? And really, and if you think about it, some people, as a local business owner, you may think, well, so it takes a little longer for them to index my page. So what? This really affects a lot of websites that are news sites. They are dependent on being able to publish current events and be up to date on what's going on now, what's going on today, to be able to strike first and come out with that breaking story. And if Google and Google's news engine, if it's not updating properly or in a timely manner, then those pieces that are created that are timely are outdated. You talk about breaking news, you're not hearing about it for another 2, 3, 4, 5 days. That content's already stale. So it's a bit of an issue, and there's been rumors as to why it was caused or what happened and all this good stuff. And that's not really something that I care about. I don't care about necessarily the whys, unless I want to try to determine how long a problem may last. How far stretching is the issue. But really, it's outside of my control. It's outside of anybody's control outside of Google, right? They're the only ones who really know what's happening. You would hope, and if they don't, we've got bigger problems than us as the end user, the client. They have bigger problems than us, and what our concerns are right now. They have to fix, they have to fix their engine. But what do we do? What steps can you take as a business owner? The answer is almost always going to be the same, and that's just to continue doing what you would consider best practice. And what I mean by that is come out with, continue creating good content, expanding on content that can be expanded upon, refreshing content, and creating what is going to work best or fill the purpose of your browser, or your not your computer browser, but whomever is browsing your website, the visitor to your site, the person. Be focused on the individual and the ranking and all these, the rankings will come if you do that. I mean, really, that's where Google is shifting towards, and we'll get into that a little bit later today. But you want to take that approach of, are you creating a site that takes care of the user? And if you concentrate on that, then all these other things of, hey, is the search engine algorithm, is Google messing up, and all these short-term concerns really no longer become a concern. You concentrate on generating good backlinks for your site, doing that outreach. That's really what I would do, and what I would recommend for anybody, any business owner, any SEO, anybody, have that be your focus point. So take that for what it is. Recognize that it's there. Recognize that there are issues happening. So if you do see some dancing in the rankings and what's going on, be aware of that. Now, if you hear or read, and you can follow Google's various Twitter handles, and if there's an issue with indexing and your site is no longer indexed, you may need to resubmit a sitemap or something of that sort to try to get your pages back into the search engine. But still, in due time, that too will be fixed. And you let your competition run around like crazy. Right. Right now is the time to, you take a deep breath and do what you know is right. Do what is has been tested through time, through years and years, and it's the way that you should be marketing your website, whether it's through search engines or whatever. It's just you're doing the right thing. Continue doing the right thing. Concentrate on that. Let your competition chase the short-term results. What you want to concentrate on is the long-term growth. It's going to be more solid, more secure. It's going to take you further in the long run, and that's really not just where you should be concentrating now, but always. That should always be the concentration. So, enough about that. Moving forward, what I wanted to talk about today was an update that occurred in the Search Quality Evaluator Guidelines. And what that is, it's the set of instructions that are given to the search quality raters to be able to rate web pages. Now, who are these search quality raters? They double check to make sure that Google's algorithm is providing an accurate result. Right. So if you have a machine learning system, the machine, it can learn, sure. I mean, that's what the purpose is. But first of all, you initially need a set of confirmations, or you need to be able to set some data points for the learning to take place. And things can go out of line. They can veer a little off over time. It can happen. And also, since Google is making a large number of shifts throughout the day, every day, not large shifts, just a large number of small shifts. They want to double check, and they should be double checking that the rankings that they are giving, and that they are accurate to what a user actually wants. So they have these people that will, they have these instructions, and they're going to go through a search query, and they'll click on the results, and they're essentially going to fill out somewhat of a questionnaire, if you will. They're going to rate different aspects of the results that they've received, and based on that feedback, the algorithm or the learning can be more finely tuned. All right, so you don't need to be concerned specifically with the search quality raters themselves, but when they change mentions, when they shift or change or update the guidelines, that's something to pay attention to, because that means that that's something that's a new data that they're changing the input to the machine learning, right? So they are going to shift what they're looking at. And they've either already come out with that through an algorithm update, and then they're bringing the quality raters up to speed, or they are putting this out to the quality raters, and based on their new way of rating a page, will teach Google's machine learning system what is and what is not important. So really what did change? And that's what we're going to discuss. So I'm going to summarize as a local business the portions that are most important to you. Jennifer Slegg, she wrote a great piece, a great blog over at the SEM Post, and she summarized a lot of the new evaluator guidelines, and did a comparison with the old guidelines and the new guidelines, and really called out what changed. So let me summarize where I'm going to hit on the most important parts. First of all, is there's going to be a heavier weight against intrusive interstitials. Bear with me. An intrusive interstitial. First, we have to see what's an interstitial. That is a pop-up, but it's not necessarily a new window that pops up like the old school, early 2000, 2005 pop-up. It'll be a layer over the front of the screen. So think of when you go to a website and have you sign up for a newsletter. And you have the box that comes and you put in your newsletter or whatever, but it covers the whole screen. It covers all the content. That is an interstitial, and that is intrusive, right? It is intruding upon your intent. Your intent is to read the article, not sign up for the newsletter. Most people, I would venture to say almost all people, would not go to Google and say, how do I sign up for X, Y, and Z's newsletter? If they did, then they would get the newsletter result, and then that would fill their intent. But their intent is, show me how to X, Y, and Z. They're given a blog on the one of the top results. They're probably going to click one of those, and if they go to the page and the page has a newsletter pop-up that covers the page and they can't read the content, that's an issue. That goes against the grain for what the user wants, and that's important to Google. The end user, the surfer, the web browser, the individual who browses, they are the bread and butter for Google. If Google starts to slide in the trustworthiness and can't continue delivering good results that are trustworthy, that fill the user's intent, then they potentially will slide their leadership in, and their domination as a search engine can slide as well. And it's highly important for Google to make sure that the results that they're giving are going to be accurate in filling what the user wants. That's really the role of these quality raters. They want to make sure that they're giving quality results to the masses, to the end users. So there was a algorithm update that took place a couple years ago, where sites that had mobile intrusive interstitials. So if you're on your phone and there was a newsletter pop-up that occurred, and or if even now they're considering if it's an app download, if it almost forces you to, the website almost forces you to download an app to be able to use the website, they're considering that intrusive. So there's now an algorithm, or there was an algorithm update to not penalize, it's not a penalty, but to give a negative rating, I guess I'll say. If you don't have an intrusive interstitial, you will have a more stronger likelihood of getting a top placement. So that intrusive interstitial will downgrade the trustworthiness of your website. And there's this term that's been around for a bit of time now, called EAT. It's your expertise, authority, and trustworthiness. And if your website isn't trustworthy, if it's going to inundate the end user with intrusive ads, then the trust isn't there. It's going to lower the I guess we'll call it an EAT rating, if you will, and then your website can lower in rankings. Now, there's going to be heavier weight against those intrusive interstitials, so it will negatively affect your website. In a local business, you are probably going to come across this, and maybe you have this on your website now, where it's going to prompt for that newsletter sign up, and it's going to cover the whole page. You may want to rethink that strategy. You may want to devise a different method of going about collecting email addresses. I know attorneys often on your pages, you will have a pop-up that'll show up either for live chat. It'll cover the whole page, come up with a live chat, or it'll your call to action, your click to call. It'll be a box that'll pop up over the screen. If you're doing that on mobile, you may want to not do that and think of a better way of delivering a call to action. So that's enough with that. There's going to be heavier weight against websites that have intrusive interstitials. Another thing that we're seeing, it's a shift in terminology where Google, they're still using EAT, right? They're still using the expertise, authority, and trustworthiness. They're still using that throughout the guideline, but they're shifting a number of times. Instead of using the term EAT, they're using the word page quality. So there may be a change in what they're considering to be a quality page, where EAT is not going to be as important. And I say this really not trying to overstep or mislead anybody. I mean, the expertise, authority, and trustworthiness of your website and the pages and the content, that's going to be important for here on out. That's going to always be something that you want. So let's not just throw it out, right? Don't throw out your expertise. Don't throw out the trustworthiness of your website. But they're replacing, in some of the terminology, they're replacing EAT with page quality, which means that they could be looking at other factors, not necessarily how authoritative the author is, but the quality of the content on the page. That is the shift, the potential most probable shift that we're seeing. Is the description is, don't look at, is the website trustworthy? Is there an author bio? Is that author bio, are they a known, is that person, do they carry authority? Are they an expertise in the category? And that's still going to be important. But also, let's look at the actual content of the page. And is the quality of the page, the experience on the page, is that in place? Because that's going to be important, which is good news, right? That Google is shifting their view more towards quality of content. Overall, I think that's going to be a positive thing just for the internet as a whole. Now, one thing to note is, if you're in your money, your life, it's a YMYL, right? That's a term that they use, and the EAT will still play a very important part if your website is a your money or your life website. And what a your money, your life is if you're doing a financial transaction, if you're giving financial information, if you're giving important information about your life. So if you're a doctor, if you're in a medical office and you're setting a doctor's appointment, and I'm going to divulge information that that requires privacy. Same with an attorney. I'm going to tell you about my case. I'm going to tell you about what's going on in my life personally. That's going to be your money, your life. If you are a mortgage broker and I'm filling out a form, sending over my financial data, that's your money and that's your life. That's both of them, right? An e-commerce website, your money. So your money, your life. If we're talking about sensitive data, the transmission of sensitive data, or connecting an end user with a company that deals in potential sensitive data, the that each score, again, I guess I'm just going to call it an EAT score. That EAT score, that is going to play a more intricate role for the overall rating of your website and web pages. But there is that shift as well. If you're an attorney and you have a blog, the content of that blog will soon be judged more strictly, in my opinion. It's going to be the quality. It's not, are you just going to be spitting out, and I've talked about this before, don't just spit out BS content. Don't take the same questions that everybody's answering, answer it in the same way, have it all be salesy, and have it be, just a not a good answer. Look at the quality of what you're delivering. Are you filling that user's intent? Are you the answer to their query? If so, great, expand on it and make sure that you are really giving quality. That's going to be an ongoing shift that Google has been working to achieve for a while, and they're going to continue. And this is just one step closer to achieving that ultimate goal for them. And we see this. So beyond that, there's also a change when we talk about the page quality and EAT, and that is a shift towards more intent based, right? So I know in the past, and I'll continue to use it, I'll say, hey, are you answering the user's query? Is this, does your blog align with giving the best answer to the user's query? Right? I say it. It's been going on for some time, but they are shifting, and there's probably a shift away from that and more towards, are you filling the user's intent? And there's a difference here, right? One is question and answer. They're going to say, a user can go onto Google and they're going to type in where to find a car accident attorney or a car accident lawyer near me. The intent is obviously finding a car accident lawyer near them. Location based, it's going to be based on probably a Centroid or where the user is searching from. And you're going to see more of a shift towards that, as opposed to maybe a blog about car accidents and what to do. Right? So if somebody searches what to do after a car accident, it's going to be more towards the intent of research. And the practice area page may have less of a chance in ranking high because it doesn't truly fill the user's intent. They're not at a point where they want to consult with an attorney. They're not at a point where they're ready to sign and become a client, but they're doing research, and they could be doing research on their own. This could also be where there could be a lean more towards directories, where somebody's saying, best car accident lawyer near me. Hey, your directories may be at the forefront of those SERPs. Maybe on the top listings could be directories, because the intent behind that would be you want to find the best, therefore you want some type of comparison. Now, on the local maps, that is going to be viewed slightly different. If you say, the best car accident attorney near me, you'll see a little trigger. There's a little drop down where you can select the star rating. It's going to automatically select 4 stars or above. So that's a little different. I'm not talking about the maps with this. I'm talking about the organic ranking. This is what the shift you're most likely going to see. Now, beyond that, there's another update that Google did as well, and that is with the Google Ads. Across the top of the page and down below, you have the the top 3 placements, and usually you'll have the ad, and then there's going to be a URL, to display URL, and that's going to be underneath the ad, and that display URL is in green. So on mobile, they've shifted that, so it doesn't have the green URL anymore, and it has a little little icon, it's a little fave icon that's the same icon and it'll show yours organically as well now. So your fave icon, the icon that you view in the tab, there'll be a little globe, or you can have a custom one, little small image. Usually it's going to be your logo or whatever, and your webmaster, if they made your website, they probably added that in there. And so if you bookmark a page, you'll see a little icon, or if you look in the tab, you'll see the little icon about your website. And that now shows to the left of the title on the search engine results. Now on the left of an ad, it says ad in black writing. They tested this for a bit of time, and I'm pretty certain that the results of this test was that removing that green line and staying like ad in green or sponsored or whatever, and putting the fave icon that says ad, it more closely matches an organic result. Therefore, you're going to have a higher click-through rate on the ads, and they have deniability. They can say, well, we said ad right next to it. It says ad right there, right, just to the left. It says ad. We're not, we're okay. We're not breaking any rules. We're being upfront and honest. It masks the organic ranking with the ads more now than they did in the past. It's not really surprised that they're doing that. They want more people to click on the ads. Why? Because they get money. It's an ad. They get ad revenue, right? That's something that in the future you're probably going to see even more of. You're going to see additional ads taking over the top of the page even more so than they are now. There used to not be an ad in the Google Maps. Now you have the top listing is most likely going to be an ad, and it's going to be more masked than it was before, and that's just something to be aware of. Is SEO dead? No. Is organic listings dead? No. But some of those clicks are going to go towards ads. I'm pretty sure they've tested this. They test pretty much everything, and I am quite confident that they would not make a movement against ad revenue in this type of a scenario. So anyways, that's what's been going on with Google. There's been a lot, but the main takeaway here is with the Search Quality Evaluator Guidelines, because that tells us how to stay in front of the game, and it gets ahead of the curve to give you that better opportunity to get better rankings in the future, and you can go ahead and start optimizing towards that now. If you know the path that Google is taking, you can take the steps now, and you'll end up being ahead of the game. And that wraps up this episode of the Morning Cup of SEO. If the information I'm sharing with you is helpful, give this a like and be sure to subscribe now so that you can be informed when we get some new podcasts coming in the pipeline. We try to come out with them every week. We're not perfect. Sometimes we'll skip a week here and there. If it's a holiday, we're probably going to have the day off. But, click subscribe. We'll be notifying you when we do get a new podcast out. Till then, have a good one.